All right. So I already started to record. So anytime you want now.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to LightShare podcast. Today, I'm joined by Adrian and Dom, as usual, but we have a very special guest. We have Sid with him. I will start over.
All right. It's fine.
Okay.
You can just call me Sid.
Yeah.
You can just call me Sid.
Yeah, I get very nervous. Hello, everybody, and welcome to LightShare podcast. I'm joined by Adrian and Dom, as usual, and today we have a very special guest. Sid is joining us today. So why don't you introduce yourself, man? Let us know who you are, where you've been up to.
Sure thing, man. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. I've been looking at all of your works for a while now and absolutely love it. So it's great to have this conversation with you.
Thanks a lot, man.
So, hey everyone, I'm SIDDHARTHA Valluri. I'm a concept artist from India. And yeah, I'm just in the early stages of my career, trying to develop myself. Let's see where things go.
Nice. Dude, I wonder...
The guys say early stages, right? But his work
know,
is
right?
like next level. So I don't know how I feel about that.
Wait, so this is not even your final phase? Damn.
No, it's not.
That's crazy, dude. I just wonder, how did you get here? Like, how did you get to the this point in your career that you're at right now? Like, how did you get started in art, and how did you find about this career that you wanted to pursue and all that stuff? I'm just curious.
I think generally a lot of people start off really early where they're drawing and they're the artist in the class. I don't think that was kind of my journey right at the beginning. It was something I used to do when I was really young, but then it stopped for a while. And then due to my dad's work, we used to move around to different cities, right? So there was one particular city I had moved to, and then I started looking at this guy who used to sit next to me in class, and he used to draw these Dragon Ball Z characters all the time. And that was, I think, in the 9th or 10th grade or something like that. That's when the need to keep drawing came back suddenly. And I was just imitating him. I wasn't like trying to draw my own things or anything of that sort. So it was just something that clicked and started developing slowly over time. Then generally in India, after 12th grade, you have to like join a particular college for any major. Maybe engineering is typically the most common thing that's chosen, but I was pretty sure I didn't want to do that. And I kind of wanted to go towards animation, but my folks weren't too keen on that. So we kind of decided on architecture as the medium between something that could be a stable job and a place where I could probably have some outlet of creativity. So that's how I got into architecture. And yeah, I mean, that's a 5-year long course. So it's a fairly long process of study. So around halfway through the course, I realized that I wasn't truly interested in architecture any longer. And there was a particular instance where one of the teachers had failed the design that I had done. And that kind of hit me quite hard because that was the only time I failed a subject in the entire 5 years. And that moment kind of led me back towards concept art because I felt like the kind of work that I want to do, it won't really work out that well in a realistic architectural sense. And those skill sets and ideas can work better in concept art. So that's how I kind of leaned towards concept art. And along that same time, I was looking at a lot of design cinema videos, and Feng Zhu was like the main source through which I came to know about concept art. And I kind of made up my mind that I wanted to study there. And after architecture was done, then I took about 6 months to prepare my portfolio, applied to FZD. And this was in 2017 Jan when I joined the college in Singapore. And that's a 1-year program. So finished that up and then started applying for jobs. And then that's when the actual professional journey started.
So 2017 was the point.
That's insane, dude. Yeah. I can definitely relate to the design cinema videos on YouTube as well, because that's when I first knew about concept art, and like concept art in terms of what it really is, because before then I was just aware of the word itself, like concept art. I knew that if I Google up images, beautiful art from video games and stuff like that would pop up, but I wouldn't know what it was exactly for. So when I saw Feng Zhu on YouTube, I was like, damn, concept art.
I was like blown away how fast he could paint in like a couple minutes. I'm like, that's actually a thing. Like people can actually do that.
I was like,
like paint in under.
This is exactly what I want to do, right? Yeah. And for me, it clicked instantly.
He has so many decades of that muscle memory where he's just done it so many times where things are just flowing. So it's pretty insane.
It's insane to see that there seems to be nothing that a designer like him can't do. You know, there's a lot of people out there who seem to be able to do everything. And this is an interesting topic I'd like to get into here, which is to specialize or to be like a more general or generalist concept artist, because there's always such a debate in terms of, oh no, you have to know how to do everything. Oh no, you don't have to do everything. You have to specialize and be the best in something specific, you know. And I don't know, what's your opinion on that? What's your take? Like, how do you see that?
I think it depends on where you are in your career stage, you know. It's not that easy to say clear cut that you should specialize or you should generalize.
Right.
Like if you look at somebody like an Ash Thorpe or a Maciej Kuciera, they are diversifying their skill set at a very high degree now, but they have so many years under their belt at this point, and they have the freedom to keep exploring. Whereas somebody who's just trying to get a job, they definitely, I feel, need to specialize in a particular thing so that they can at least get started. Once you have some income coming in through the artwork that you're creating, then it's easier to start taking additional risks and start diversifying your skill sets. But if you're really early on and you don't even have a job and you're trying to do a different thing each day, I think it's very hard to land a proper job. And nobody knows what your specialization is or what they should hire you for. So I would think in the early stages of their career, it's better to start focusing on one thing, get started, and then slowly start diversifying as you start building up your skills and career.
Yeah, okay. So that got me a little bit confused, because it seems to me like FCD forms a very generalistic portfolio for their students. And you've been there, and now you're saying that like people need to specialize. And I've had a very hard time with like being specialized to find regular jobs. It seems like it's easier to find smaller things like here and there, right? But the steady income, it's a little harder to get. So why exactly, like, I understand the fact that you'll get a higher degree of skill if you specialize, like it's faster to get better at a particular thing. But I also see a bunch of like junior artists and interns like having to do a bunch of different things, you know, like being inside the industry. And what kind of balance do you imagine that a person should have in there? Because in my opinion, at least, it's good to know a little bit of everything, even if like, I don't know, maybe 50% of the knowledge that you would have on everything. Like imagine a skill level on an RPG, right? You put 5 points to everything and then like max out one of them. That's how I kind of viewed the idealistic beginner's portfolio. But like you have more experience with that.
That's a really good analogy. I mean, the way you're developing or splitting up your skill points. I think it's also about the mindset of the person. Like if I was in that position, I would maybe put 10 points in one bar and have 1 everywhere else. So it kind of depends on what each person wants to approach their career like. And I think there's also a certain amount of self-confidence that a person needs to have to be able to put in all the eggs in one basket essentially and focus on that. It's always like you might feel comfortable trying out different things so that you can cast a wider net while you're applying for jobs. But at the same time, it's also from the employer's point of view, if they want a particular job done, they will hire only for that particular job. They're not going to search for people who can do 10 other things. Again, this is specific to AAA studios and larger places. In an indie studio, it could be exactly the other way around, where they need one person who can do 10, 20 different things. So it again depends on so many factors, like the city you live in, other jobs available, are you able to freelance? It's like such a complicated thing to answer. There's no one correct way to do it.
I actually saw it somehow like Andre, I think. Like I imagined in the beginning, it was more recommended to kind of have your skill set spread across many other different, what do you call that, like subject matters or different fields, just to be able to absorb as much jobs as you could, like different jobs, right? Instead of...
That's what I used to think too.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm like on one side or another. It's just what I thought, until I heard you. But I thought it was better to, as a beginner, right? You don't have any jobs, you're just learning about this, and therefore you try to cover as much subject matter as possible, like not going too deep into any of it, but just showing that you can do it, right? At least at a basic level, just to kind of get you started on where will your career path be leading you, right? And then, of course, you can start specializing. Whereas if you start straight from the beginning, just to specialize into something, getting deep into a subject and being the best at that, for a lot of people, I think it might seem like a more risky move, perhaps, right? But I respect that a lot, because if you like that, hey, if you like...
Sorry, continue.
No, I was just going to say like a stupid example. Like if you really like dragons, and you want to be the best dragon designer out there, then just go for it, man. If that's what you like, do it, right? You'll probably end up getting jobs, right? I'm just saying it's probably going to take a lot longer than if you just, what I said earlier, try to cover like many other areas and scale up from there.
That's why I think like a project.
The dragon point is interesting because it's not about the time, but the perception that people have. Like they feel like if I've chosen dragons, then I need to become the best dragon designer by day after tomorrow. But that's just not possible, because there are people who've been drawing dragons since before you were born. So you have to be kind of aware of the time scales, and of course the tools will help speed up that process a lot more. But again, patience is needed to get to that point. But I guess the ability to take that risk is something.
Yeah,
it's this perception of time
I've had
that people have.
I have experience like in both sides. That's why it's something that really gets to me when people start talking about which one to do. Because for for the first 3 years that I was studying, I was really focused on hardware design, like hard surface and especially vehicles. I'm not like, I do design props, but it's not like what I like the most. But then after 3 years, I decided to dedicate like 6 months to design like a brand new portfolio with every subject matter. So it had like characters, creatures, environments, architecture, and of course props and mechs as well. And I spent like 6 months enclosed in my own, like didn't show anything to anyone, like worked my ass off on that portfolio. It had like, I don't know, maybe 32 final pieces, final designs or something like that, with a bunch of sketches and everything. And I posted it on ArtStation, and I sent like my favorite artists, and they just sent me things like, just draw more, man. And I was like crushed by that.
Shit.
Like
motivation.
The person was actually like really cool, they didn't talk like in a rude manner, but it was a bit of a shocking reality, because while I was so focused on creating this variety of subject matters, what was really failing was the design aspect to it, because I think that's something that it takes a while to develop. I think it's easier to learn how to draw everything, and instead of learning how to actually design. So ended up that like the only things that were actually good designs on that portfolio were the hard surface stuff, because it was something that I've been training like for so much longer, and something that I was more enthusiastic about. So I think the enthusiasm is where it really should make a difference, like if you really don't know, you just want to draw and you don't know what you actually love, maybe that should be what dictates where you go, Yeah. It's more about like what speaks to you. And I think it shows in my work that I really love like this kind of thing that I do now. And I stopped caring a little bit like what people thought about hiring like possibilities if you were a character designer or not. But for beginners, I would say that yeah, maybe focusing only to get a job is not the best thing. But at the same time, if you specialize, it will be a little bit harder to like get up to speed. I think you will get like it's a unstable like pathway, I would say. And I know like Sid, you post a bunch of like architecture related stuff, or cinematic. I would say like it's more cinematic, not necessarily architectural, because I feel like you think a lot about the composition of the shots instead of only the building design and everything.
Just because there's a building, it's already architectural.
Yeah, but I mean, the way that he points the camera at it.
Yeah,
right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah. But okay, so my mind is trying to merge the idea of you saying that people need specialized, and then you were using the knowledge that you had from architecture. How did you merge both worlds? Because I imagine that you used a lot of your knowledge on architecture on your concept design career.
I think, like you correctly pointed out, my work, at least the ones that I post out in the open, is more related to cinematics and the certain set pieces within which the architectural design is embedded. So the first thing that I study is actually movie compositions, cinematic storytelling, and things along those lines, and trying to get better in storytelling, and then embed those architectural moments within those compositions. Because architecture is something that I enjoy reading about, learning about, but I don't like really necessarily doing, say, orthographic drawings or something like that, which can portray the design really well. Like if somebody asked me to do that in a job, of course I can do it. That's not any problem. But the kind of work that I want to put out there is more related to the way the camera is looking at the subject matter. So that's where the gaps need to be filled up. So learning about camera lenses in terms of the way I need to compose my shots, in the way I need to tell certain stories, and all the design work kind of happens on the back end. I don't really put it out there too much because it's just like really rough sketches and quite a lot of scribbles. And then I need to, I think, get better at documenting my process so that I can share the workflow in a better manner. I think I would say I'm a bit lazy when it comes to that. So that's something I need to definitely get better at.
Yeah, man, I want to see those sketches, like you posted, I think, a stories recently of your sketchbook and a bunch of scribbles. And I was like, damn, man, that's what I want to see, like the shots are cool. We want to see
demos.
I think I need to check it out too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like there's certain awkwardness I feel to share those sketches because it's like so rough and scribbly. It's almost like, why would anyone want to look at those at that stage? So I don't know. That's kind of my mindset at the moment. But I think I should share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the general public is not like too much into that. But designers, I think, like nerd out on that stuff, because it's where you think about shapes and forms and everything else and balance. I think there's too much focus on flash images, and I've realized that on the day-to-day basis, the sketches and the thought process is like way more important, at least like from what I do, right? And I mean, it's kind of our responsibility to showcase that kind of thing. I like to post sketches, like you guys probably know that, but it's because that's where, as soon as I'm done with the sketch, I don't even want to paint that too much because like the design is there. I lost the interest, like I want to move on to the next next design. And it kind of like bums me out when people try to like are ashamed of the sketches, like those are the real thing, man.
No, don't get me wrong, I'm not ashamed of the sketches. I just don't want to show it just yet. But I did document the entire process of the short film quite deeply. So once that comes out, I will be doing like an in-depth video talking about the entire process from the very beginning. And I think that'll make up for the lack of sketches all this while.
Damn, that's gonna be huge. Looking forward to it.
I wanted to ask, you said, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dom. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, like, what your experience was like at FCD. Like, how was that all with your colleagues and everything? Like, what was that like?
I think it was a a really good experience for me. Luckily, the class or the batch that I was a part of was really, really talented, and there was so much to learn from the classmates as well as the art directors over there. So there was also a lot of good atmosphere, like friendly competition. We were like learning from each other right from the beginning, and there was no weird ego stuff or bad energy between the people. So it was like really smooth sailing the entire 1 year. And I think there was also this advantage that because I had done architecture before going there, there was a certain sense of workflow that I had established already. So the time where they were teaching the fundamentals like perspective and color and those kind of things, I had a little bit of knowledge about that. So I was able to understand what they were teaching at a faster pace and kind of dive deeper into my work. But of course, there were people who were far more talented and harder working than me. So there was like a lot that I could learn from them. And of course, the people who are senior to you in the batches above you, they're already performing and doing really good work. So always talking with those people is a very good idea so that you can kind of learn the challenges that lie ahead of you. And I've noticed that people who are taking that initiative and talking with people outside their own class generally tend to perform better because they are getting information from other batches as well. Like, Dom, you study in Art Center, if I'm not wrong, right?
No, I go to a smaller art school. It's called LCAD.
Okay, so
it's not really.
But the point being that you are able to interact with so many people, so I'm sure that helps you a lot, right? And
networking for sure, yeah.
That networking ability is quite important, and yeah, I think that networking part is something that I gain the most out of the work. The traditional working part and developing your skills is something that will anyway keep happening because they are putting so much pressure in terms of the assignments and the things that are being taught to you. So that's anyway going to keep developing as long as you're working hard towards it. But maintaining contacts is quite important, and yeah, I think that's what I would say was the most important thing.
I was really surprised.
You work with. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say about the homework. I was surprised by the insane amount of homework that you were assigned. Yeah. I've heard people were doing like 18 hours a day.
Pretty hardcore, yeah. I mean, the amount of work that they give is quite intense. But I also feel there's a certain amount of exaggeration that is done when people talk about the amount of work that's being given.
It's so probably, this kind of ripple effect that comes from probably one person who had a bad experience just talking shit about it. And then that kind of amplifies. And that's all people know about it, right? Because they haven't heard from people who did have a good experience. So maybe it's coming from some place like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious about the overall experience with the homework, the amount of, let's say, pressure, that evolutionary pressure that was put on the students and stuff like that. Because from outside, it looks like a school of magic. You just go there, you have no idea how to draw, and then you come out like a level 100, mage.
but I guess due to design cinema being present and having so many years on YouTube and everything, it creates this kind of vibe around the school, right? Because every episode you hear Feng Zhu talking about, hey, my school teaches this, it's so hardcore, and my school is so hardcore. 100 episodes of watching that, and someone that walks out of the school says, yeah, I worked hard, but you gotta imagine to learn a bunch of things in 1 year. Yeah, it's probably not going to be the easiest thing in the world, right? But I also found out that that happens in other fields as well. To me, a turning point was when I realized that there's no easy pathway. There's not. I mean, if you wanted to just not study and have a shitty job and not be someone in your life and carry on, maybe you have other goals, right? For us, work is very important. But if you want to be big in any industry, it will require a lot of work, right? So you cannot expect to, just because it's art, it wouldn't be. Just because something that you love, it wouldn't be. So
art's easy, man.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Of course, it's easy for Dom. He pulls out paintings after paintings each day.
The one
Exactly.
secret you need
these
to
two
know
guys, like,
if you want to be
they are the
successful
kind
in
of people
any industry.
that you wanna hate, you know. So
Yeah,
No,
just work hard.
no, it's hard as hell. It's stupidly hard with the amount of time that you have to practice. Like, people underestimate it, I feel. Like, they don't see what happens behind the scenes behind a lot of artists who have to like get to where they are today. So
Especially
like,
in the beginning, you know, with the boring assignments of fundamentals, like you have to master this first, you know, before we get into the fun stuff. Like, how was that for you? You were coming from architecture, so I guess, of course, you already had like the fundamentals of perspective and all that stuff, right, under your belt. So I guess it was easier for you to approach that rather than someone who just, you know, just enrolled into the course out of nowhere, like without any idea how to draw fundamentals and stuff like that. How was that for you?
I wish I could claim that it was very easy for me, but it was not. It did take
I didn't
quite a
say
bit of
easy, all right?
to-
I said easier.
easier, probably, yeah. The thing is, when I learned these fundamentals for the very first time, that was probably in 2011 or 2012. And so it was much later when I went to FZD. So I had almost forgotten those fundamentals because by the end of the semesters or college years, you're obviously working only on digital tools. So you're not actually drawing stuff out that much anymore. It's mostly, again, just the sketches. So it's like I knew the theory of the fundamentals, but I had to definitely retrain myself to get quick and fast at drawing out those fundamentals. And definitely the painting side of things was something that I had to improve on quite a bit. It was the sketching was kind of there to just start off with, but painting in grayscale values, getting good at color and lighting, that was something that I had to definitely learn. One advantage that I definitely had in the first term was that they were teaching SketchUp in one of the classes, and that was something that I was using pretty much on a daily basis at that point already before getting to FZD. So while the art directors were teaching the basics of SketchUp, I was able to take that time and start working on the assignments right then and there and kind of get a head start, at least in that one particular class. So it's all about maximizing the advantage that you have from your previous skill sets. But I think by the time you reach the second term, everyone's base knowledge kind of evens out. So then it's just about how much effort you're putting in and how much time you're giving to the work, essentially.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say for the first term.
I used to use it a lot too. Great
You
program.
left
I never
us
used
speechless. I never used SketchUp
no,
either.
I'm kind of trying to imagine like okay, go ahead, Adrian.
No. I was just gonna say I opened it up and tried it a couple of times. I didn't do anything crazy, and I ended up using, I don't know, ZBrush, for instance, like as my first 3D program.
ZBrush
which is
awesome.
which is odd to so
Don't
many
talk
people.
shit about ZBrush in front of me, please.
No. I think it's awesome. It was my first 3D program, dude. But a lot of
pretty
people
awesome, yeah.
are like surprised when I say that because it's like, oh, it was your first 3D program? Holy shit! How could you? Like, it's crazy, dude. Have you seen the interface, like the UI and everything? They have their own language. You know, there's certain options that are just native to ZBrush, like Z remesher, Z something, Z that, Z this. You know, they add a Z in front of everything, and but yeah, to me it was, I don't know, I had no other way. Let's put it that way. You know, like I had to do it
But
in
honestly,
ZBrush.
it's not even that hard. I don't know why people waste a lot of time cribbing about user interfaces of softwares. It's like, it's there. If you want to use it. Otherwise, move on. Like, why are you wasting your time and time of other people cribbing about the interface? It's not like you can do something about it. So
I firmly believe that
that's
you
pretty
get
much
used to
the
it.
same mentality, man.
Because you
Like,
learn
I
ZBrush,
understand.
you learn Blender, you learn Photoshop, you learn whatever else, and you will always be able to switch between them because it might take a while to get used to it again, but it's like learning how to ride a bike, you know, even though you spend years without it, you will remember how to do it no matter how long it passes. So that's the way I see it.
exactly.
Yeah. I think people just forgot that, like, when they learned at Photoshop, they were like 15 and they had this like whole bunch of energy, and they didn't even care about the interface, so they just got used to that, and when they are faced with something different, they get start to rage about it. But
Right.
ZBrush is awesome and can
so
create
true.
I'm starting
amazing
to love
stuff,
3ds Max. Just kidding.
Bro.
My interface is horrible.
3ds Max was a one-way ticket for me. I just opened it up and closed it the same minute.
Closed it immediately.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna try this. Yeah. No.
I started 3D with Fusion 360, so that's in my opinion, a great start because you don't have to deal with polygons and stuff. And at the same time, the interface doesn't have a bunch of shortcuts. So you just have to learn it, have to learn how to find things over there. And I know Sid uses it a little bit as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of want to transition a little bit to talk about your movie. And I've seen a bunch of work that you were doing in CAD for the movie. So for those of you who don't know, Sid is an amazing director, and he will have his debut with his short movie.
I want to see it.
I don't even know when it launches, but I wanted to talk about that, man. I'm really excited to both see it and hear you talk about the process and how you got into it. It seems like there's a lot of transitions, transitioning from architecture to concept design, and now from concept design with something that seems like one level above it. And yeah, what brought you to this idea of developing a short movie and everything?
I think last year around May or June, I was just looking at a lot of concept art pretty much on a daily basis, and it kind of became a bit saturating because I felt like the techniques were getting stale, at least for my own personal workflow. I wasn't able to experiment much, and the output was looking similar. Of course, it keeps getting better each time you do it, but I wasn't really enjoying the work that I was doing. And then I was looking at other people producing a lot of concept art as well. And again, really good technical work, but it just looked the same after a point. Then I was just looking at the people whose work I find inspiring, like Alberto Mielgo, Ash Thorpe, Maciej Kuciera. Those guys are just developing their own projects. They keep developing their skills technically through the kind of projects that they want to do. And I felt that is something that I need to learn to do at a larger scale. And that's when I started developing the short film. It was just a very, very rough idea at the beginning. Very loose storyboard sketches, just writing down a couple of ideas and just experimenting in 3D. And slowly over time, that started developing into a proper short film, which is still in progress. It's not out there yet, for those who don't know.
Do you have any plans for the release, or?
The thing is, I can't pinpoint a particular date because I'm rendering everything on my laptop, just a MacBook Pro. So things are just taking a bit long. It's like about 2,000 frames or something like that, 2,500 frames. So it's taking a bit longer than I thought it would take. But there's nothing I can do about it
or something. Something
crazy,
that's
sure. What Mac users have to deal with. If you had a beast computer, you wouldn't have to go through that. So
yeah, I need to save up that money to buy a beast computer.
Same.
But
yeah, it was.
Yeah, I want you to talk about you don't really need to give everything away, of course, but what's your initial idea, how it transformed, how you faced the challenges.
Yeah, how did you get to that idea?
Yeah, sure. I think it was a pretty simple idea. Essentially, it was showing the development of an architectural idea or development of an idea itself represented or personified in an architectural form. So it was about showing the beginning of an idea and how that transitions into a completed idea and representing that as a short film. So I don't want to give away the visuals too much, but it essentially revolves around creating a final monumental structure, and that basically represents the idea that we have in our mind when we start any particular project. And an important part was also kind of going back to my earlier days in architecture and thinking about the ideas that I had back then and bringing some of those thoughts now into the technical skills that I have at this point and merging those two things together. because those ideas were not adulterated or merged with the concept art look that I'm working with in terms of the general what concept art looks like. So I wanted to kind of step back from that and just think about the idea by itself and then kind of develop the look for the film. So that was the main core process of starting the idea. And then along the way, it was obviously about learning a lot of technical things, like something as simple as what should be the frame ratio. So am I going for a 235 or a 239 ratio? What are the tools and softwares that are going to be needed for that? So I don't want to spend too much money right up front on very high-end software. So just using free programs like Blender. Luckily, I had a ZBrush subscription already paid for, so that was there. And then using the free version of Fusion 360. So just kind of developing things with what's there available, and then learning DaVinci Resolve for color grading and putting the film together, which also has a free version. So it's all about using the tools that are there and kind of developing within that, rather than spending on a whole bunch of tools and assets and then not knowing what to do with them. Another very important part was, sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, you're lucky that Blender has started to go to the gym recently. So it's been injecting like some steroids, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the main thing apart from these story or technical challenges was the biggest challenge was to put together a team with my friends so that they can help out with various aspects of the project that I don't know how to do. I think that was the most important and the hardest thing to do, because obviously I don't know how to write movie scores or do sound design. So I had to reach out to my friends to help out with that project. Then even the texturing of the character that we see in the poster that's there, that had to be done by somebody else. So that was done by my friend Lewis, who's my classmate in FZD. So like that, there are various elements of the film that had to be put together, for which I had to kind of reach out to people. And again, that's where the networking aspect comes back in again. If you're good at talking with people and sharing your ideas and thoughts with them, then they'll reciprocate that energy back to you. And that was a pretty important factor, without which the film would not have taken place at all, because there were certain key elements which I'll break down later on once the film is out. If that aspect was not done, then the film wouldn't exist actually. So I think that was a big lesson that I learned along the way.
Yeah, the importance of connections and making friends any time you can. You never know when you're gonna need...
I can't see how friends are important to your life, you know, like...
Yeah,
nothing comes to my mind when I think of friends.
Dude, when
it's always gonna get... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, when you say a movie, you know, like an animation, that's like camera placement and camera animation and all that stuff is amazing to me, you know, to get into. I'm just afraid of it just by thinking of it, you know, even in 3D. Like, it's wow. So I wonder, because I've been trying to do some stuff like that, but in 2D, you know. So maybe let's say 2D is the ultimate result, but you probably I'm not even sure what this is called. Like it's like you have different layers, you know, and you animate them so you can provide this. Yeah, exactly, something like that. So. Yeah. Dom, I think you saw something, right? I showed you like from my project.
Yeah,
like I was trying to work on
animatic, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But it's not 3D. So what I'm saying is that I'm amazed by what you're jumping into, you know, with your short film.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it seems scary at first, you know, like it seems a pretty big jump going from concept art. And I assume like your day job is concept art still, right?
Yeah.
And so like you had to tackle a whole different world of challenges going. And I don't know, man, I feel like I identify with you a lot when you say that you are not excited anymore about seeing the same thing over and over again. And I got the feeling recently when I first started learning ZBrush. That's why I was talking about the program, you know, like that rush feeling that you get when you learn something new. Like is that kind of thing important when you are developing something that has like a big bunch of challenges, or
Dude,
you
I
felt the
dreamed
rush,
I
or
was
did you feel like
sculpting in
afraid?
ZBrush in the beginning. I swear, I dreamed I was sculpting in ZBrush when I was learning
They
it.
should sponsor us, you know. Like they should just
That's when you know. That's
sponsor.
when you know you're putting in the right amount of work, when you're dreaming in that software.
Oh yeah, I dreamed about everything. I was painting, I was sculpting. You know, every time you're excited about something, you tend to get to that point. And yeah, we should get this sponsored by Pixelogic, by ArtStation. Shout out to everyone out there.
Terraform Studio.
I just want to get the secret of like keeping that rush always going on, like of learning something new. And that's something that I'm trying to focus on, like how to keep that going. And I imagine that to realize a big project, like that's a must. I don't think that you were like excited all the time.
Do you think there's a way to do that? Like, do you think there's like a way to make you excited about something, like, yeah, let's feel motivated? I think it just depends on the things you do.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to like learn something new about my specific, like the specific subject matter that I like, right? And that's something that like keeps me going, in a sense, like every day I'm pumped to work on something like mine, something personal. So I imagine that if you have a big project like a movie, which maybe one day like each of us will have the experience to work on, right? The idea that this like little piece that I'm learning today will be essential in order for me to realize this bigger like goal. So that little snippet of information will like keep you going for, I don't know, a week or something.
I think we tend to look at it like what Sid described about his short film, like this monument, that we're trying to build, that we envision in the beginning. It's like, I have this tiny idea, but I want to make it like that big, right? So that's all you can think about. And I think I'm not sure if that's the right or the wrong mindset, because you can become blinded by that, and ignore stuff that's happening right now, smaller steps that you are probably, what do you call that? Like underestimating, and you end up messing up some parts of the process that prevents you from getting to that monument that you envisioned in the beginning. So I think it's definitely important to keep that in sight and focus on the short term.
You can definitely still learn from those challenges, I think. Like learning from those failures that you make along the way, Only like, okay, what can I do better for the next round or the next progress, So it's like a benchmark, essentially.
Right.
I think that aspect of enjoyment or that rush that you were talking about is quite important, because especially when it comes to such long projects, if you lose interest midway, then you've literally wasted 6 months, because neither did you finish maybe 10 pieces of concept art, nor did you finish the short film or anything. So then it might actually end up becoming detrimental to your time. So planning out ahead is quite important. And I also want to make it very clear that it's not like I was losing interest in the field of concept art itself. It was just, I was getting bored with the work that I was producing myself. So I had to reinvent something that I was doing in my process. Because if you're anyway going to be doing concept art for your money, you need to do something else to keep developing those skills as well. Because it's also something that you need to look long term. 10 years from now, you just don't want to remain just a concept artist. Like, how much more can your skill sets grow? Can you become a art director or a director? What can you develop as a larger skill sets in terms of management, design, and all those things? So these kind of projects I feel help along the way. And planning out much in advance, like planning out the next 6 months is quite important. But of course, it ebbs and flows. Like quite a few breaks in between as well, where I was doing just regular concept artwork or maybe taking part in some challenges. Like I did the Kitbash 3D challenge last month or something like that. So I took 2 weeks off for that. So those kind of ups and downs keep happening. So that also keeps the main project fresh, so that that tunnel vision doesn't set in. You get time to take a bit of step back from that main project, do some other things, and then come back to the main project. I mean, all three of you are also developing bigger projects on the side. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, sure I am. Like, so big, man. I can't even imagine it.
This guy.
No, like I'm like really asking because I started to feel that boredom with the pieces that I was producing, and that like coincided with the time that Pablo released his Learn Squared course. So it was like an amazing thing to pump me up, and I ended up producing something that I'm not saying that's a good piece, but it was better than something that I was producing before, and opened the doors for me to see things differently, which gave me that rush. And I kind of wanted to learn how, like, I imagined that for longer projects that was the challenge, but if you keep like transitioning and having like smaller breaks with smaller pieces, maybe that's something that I could apply to like myself while I learn new things, because to me it was always like this. I learned something new, but I didn't produce something with that because I lost the interest as soon as I learned to do what I needed to do, and that was never shown. So like usually what happens is people get surprised by like the things that I was able to do in the job, because in the job you were required to use everything that you know, and like it was never on my portfolio anything that like I knew how to do, right? And I imagine that those smaller pieces serve that purpose to like showcase to the world that you are like always developing and always able to improve and learn things that you were like not exactly expected if you look at your past work, right? But these two guys
Definitely.
up here, they can talk way more about longer projects.
Yeah, I'm curious to know actually, like when you planned out these projects, like Adrian's IP and then Dom's books, how long in advance are you planning? Is it like a 1-year process or a 5-year process? I mean, how long do you plan for?
Want to go, Adrian?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. Like, I'm not joking. I haven't planned anything at all, right? I just had this idea that fulfilled me to the moon and back, and I was just
now Sid
simply
kind of wants to kill you, because he was talking so much about planning his stuff. And then the guy comes here.
No,
man, I don't plan at all.
Listen, I think
he's a pure artist. He's a pure artist.
I think it started like that, and then I slowly started to realize that I have to actually plan something, and organize this. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a chaos. So I'm now starting to kind of, how should I say, like to take it under control, to schedule stuff and say like by this month or by this day or this week, whatever, it depends. The margin of time, the time frame depends really on the subject matter itself. Like how big is this little goal within this bigger goal is, right? So yeah. I think, I don't know, even though I get busy with freelance work or other projects, I think this is something that I realized, that I'm still thinking of Heavenurian, every day. I'm like 24/7 living in that world, thinking of the possible stories, possible characters, getting ideas from anything. Really, it doesn't really matter. It could be like, a simple hike in the mountain, like a simple walk in the park. And yeah, I think I'm constantly, my mind is like constantly thinking about different possibilities for my project. But what I'm finding out is that this can be quite dangerous, because it can lead you to never finish anything, if you're constantly changing stuff, right? Never really sealing it. So that's something I'm focusing on right now. Instead of letting it loose, we don't have any deadline for this, it's fine. Like I can work on this forever, right? Which is something that I want to do, because I want to expand the universe over time.
But you can, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to, you can finish it now and seal it as per se, and then maybe change some stuff in the future, right? Or expand from there, as I said. So it's, I don't think it's something you should worry about. And this is like a note for Adrian from the future, I think. But yeah, man, this is how I deal with it. You know, right now, again, this year I've been quite busy, especially lately, because I've been putting together this course. I wanted to get that finished first, so then I have a hard time focusing on multiple stuff at the same time, especially if one of these things is something that I admire and that it's like my heart is in there, you know. So that's why I prefer to pause it and then retake it when I'm done with the other stuff. And in the meantime, my mind keeps thinking, you know, those stories. I keep taking notes. I use Google Keep quite a lot, to be honest, because since it's synchronized between computer and my phone, I can take notes anywhere. So yeah, that's when I kind of become a little bit angry when I'm out there and I don't have my phone with me because I'm trying not to use it so much. So I'm just walking and I have this amazing idea. I'm like, damn, I'm going to try to record, to remember this when I get home so I can write it down, you know, and then fuck, what was it?
You never remember it.
Yeah. It depends on how simple the idea is, but yeah, man, that's how I approach it. You know, I'm trying to share more stuff on YouTube, on the internet as well, like on my Instagram, some process shots, some ideas. I'm not really sure. This is where it gets quite chaotic because I don't have a plan for the exposure that I'm giving to you guys without spoiling you, right? Because I eventually want to make a product out of this, you know, to put it into a book or something. So yeah. Maybe Dom can help me a little bit with that. Like, what about you, Dom? What do you think about it?
Well,
what are you laughing
I guess
at,
with
that segue, right? Oh, I don't know. Maybe a book. Do you know anyone has done a book?
This episode has been sponsored by Journey to the East.
No, I think like with my project, like Journey to the East wasn't actually planned at all either. Like it was just kind of a exploration of images in the beginning, and then slowly over time it was like,
these guys.
Okay, maybe this can like turn into something. You know?
I'm with you, Sid. I also can't like fathom the thought of
they don't
planning.
plan. They don't plan at all.
Both these guys are like developing full IPs, and they're like, I don't really plan for it. I don't know.
I think it's
when is it coming out? I don't know. Whenever.
Coming out when it's ready. Yeah. But you know, you kind of just like get this inspiration from like the few images that you do. Sometimes you have to like produce maybe 4 to 5 images to like put together and be like, okay, this looks like what the world is going to take place in. So you use that as a benchmark to make like a web graph kind of to like see, okay, where do I want to expand this to, like this area or this area or this area. And so you you kind of have to like build everything in between, like a world building portfolio. So you build the characters, the creatures, the environments, like all the little props, the places and everything until it like becomes this tangible world that you see. And obviously you have to make the story too. So you make the main storyline and then you make everything around the storyline so it has a world with that story. But
I have a question there. What do you start with, or does it depend on, you know, however it comes to your mind? Like, is it the story first, or is it the design of, say, a character or a place, and then you put a character, or vice versa, or how? What do you think comes first?
For me, I think it's just like the essence of the world first. So like the genre, like what do you want to establish first? Like what is that first image? Like what is the breadth of that world kind of taking you into? Like, so for Journey to the East, it was Orientalism. That was like the main the main key genre of the whole book is sci-fi Orientalism. That's what I want it to be. Mm-hmm. And so
nice.
Just like did some research about it, like look at some old images of like different traditional painters, and you kind of gather like a ref board of everything and try to like take some inspiration from that and like build a story off of it. And so I think, yeah, most of the stuff is just based around the reference that I gather and like try to create it in a way that I can like see it in what I think it looks like. So from there, like the ideas just start coming out. And from that point, I think the story is what keeps it all together, because without a story, you don't have like any linear direction to go into. You're kind of just like exploring different things, but it's not like where's the end point and where's the start point. So I think that's important for like a big project, because like every movie has a story, right? So
almost every movie.
Yeah. Almost. And almost every game. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how this...
That was a pretty interesting point. Like, the story element is common between any long-term project, but I feel like Dom and Adrian are doing it in a more artistic manner, whereas my approach is a bit more analytical. So I think maybe, Andre, I guess even you will lean towards the analytical side in terms of developing a project, maybe.
I feel like I should be taking notes while they speak, to how to do this, because no, like what I've been tackling so far is so much smaller projects, right? I like to design like one object or one vehicle, and I feel like there's so much to design in a single object that that single thing can be a whole project in and of itself. So imagining like tackling a whole world with the kind of mentality that I have, trying to be like analyze every single aspect of one thing, I'm not sure if it will be as productive. So I guess the story comes into that, that kind of north that will guide you towards decision making. And maybe the small button in the controller is not important, like it's important the usage. And so you design that prop based on that. And
just flexing his Quest 2.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say.
It's just because I lost the track of it, man.
I'll
just
get one.
Like,
you
if
know
I was
that,
doing
right?
this
I'll get one day.
I hope you do, man. It's so awesome. Like, just because if it was a project for myself, I would probably like start by, hey, I need to design this, let's say this controller as an example, and I would spend like a week trying to find the perfect spot for the button, like, or the perfect shape for the grip and everything.
That usually happens to me when that is a very personal project. If it's for someone else, I don't really think much about it. If they like it this way, then okay, I'm gonna try add something else. If they don't like it, that's fine. But I don't really overthink that much.
I feel like with external projects, you usually have a brief that guides that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, defines a bunch of things to you. And when you don't well, of course, like leaving this podcast, I'll have a lot to think about because you guys are all like these big project managers. But no, man, I'm not joking. Like I feel like art, it's the secondary thing of what all of you are talking about. And I feel like project managing, it's a big part of it, because then it clears you from all the, what I felt were blocking me towards that kind of
the
pathway,
steps,
which were things. Yeah, and not only that, right? One thing that I learned from Pablo's class was the fact that I need to guide myself more towards the goal instead of like each step. And I was thinking too much about each step. So if I'm guided towards the goal, like you guys are towards your projects, you don't care about any part of the project that is like in terms of technicalities. Like I don't care how this is done, unless like it impacts the story or it impacts the project as a whole. And I was too worried about like, oh, okay, I need to sketch now. So I was constraining myself in what sketch means, and then like what 3D model means.
Right?
Yeah, to like the step-by-step process.
That's something that I've been concerned for a long time with, I should follow this path, that is already marked. Instead of that, I think I approached it. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm getting is that like, if you have a bigger goal, use that as your reference point. And then like the pathway that you carved towards that goal, it will matter less. So like maybe that can open up your mind towards like what you are able to do in that process, like I'm sure that when Sid started, he was not like guided towards each step of the movie making process. He was more guided towards
it's almost like the overall feel and the overall concept. I think.
And then like
I don't know how to call it. Like
the
idea.
skill learning that he had to do, were just like the pathway that he had to carve. So like learning Blender, Fusion, DaVinci, and I know like you already knew some stuff, but that pathway was not
that's a consequence.
I imagine, right? Yeah. And in my life so far, the pathway was the focus. So it was always like from one step to another, instead of like aiming to the goal and tracing the bullet to where you need to go. So that's what I'm getting here, like Dom was saying, create a couple of pieces and from there you expand. This is like, I think that is really, really useful for someone like me who tends to be more analytical and like precise in smaller projects, It's
just like you
pathway
did that
towards
vehicle, you can make an entire world based on that vehicle. You can start small and expand from there. You don't always have to envision like the entire universe. And then at least I'm speaking from my experience, like, at least, this is the way I started this.
That's actually a very good. The vehicle can be a very good parameter for what the technology of the world is.
Yeah,
which
and the
essentially
people. What is that
world building?
What's that society like? What's their world like?
Yeah, but like I created that scene and I had to like stop myself from trying to design every single building from like ground up and do sketch for every single building in the scene, and then like plan out the whole city. And like the fact that I grabbed a character model from the internet and put on there, like that was a huge breakthrough for me because I didn't have to design the clothes on the character. So, and I was like holding myself back from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm learning here, like the focus should be on what's really important and reminding yourself of that goal. I think it's look, we can call this episode like a learning process, because you'll see my mind shifting again. Like,
okay,
especially when
learning
Don
process
was talking.
with Sid, episode 10.
Yeah, man, it's like this directionality. It's
okay. Was watching how like the making of various movies, because the way the director is approaching creating such an insanely huge thing. Like I was watching a lot of behind the scenes of Alien, the old trilogy, then Prometheus, Harry Potter, all these big budget movies, and there are like so many processes involved in creating that, but the director is only worried about what the end product is going to look like. Everything else is a part of developing that process, but the main thing is the end vision, and nothing can be compromised for that vision. So of course there are different studio in charge for different aspects of the movie where everyone takes care of their department. So when you're doing the project by yourself, you basically have to emulate that process by yourself. So you have to hold yourself accountable for every aspect of the film or book or whatever IP that you might be developing, but the process still remains the same. Story comes first. Process can be anything, because if you have to learn any software, just learn it along the way. It's not like you need to spend 10 days apart from the project just to learn the basic UI or something like that. It'll just happen along the way. And then again, go back to whatever other aspects of the project that needs to be done. And I think that's the way it kind of works for me as well.
That's something I need to work on, because I sometimes kind of convince myself that when I'll learn this, I'll do that. Not now though, next week maybe. And of course that never happens, because you will always have something else that you will aspire to learn, to have, to whatever. And I think what you said, I think it's a very interesting point, that you can do everything at once.
I'll tell you a very funny story that happened during the process of developing the film. Okay, so there's like only one character in the film, and I had to simulate the clothing in Marvelous Designer for the character, sorry. And I didn't know how to use Marvelous Designer at all. And then I looked at the prices. I didn't want to purchase the entire standalone version. That was like some $500 or something like that. And I didn't really feel like spending any money on it at all. So I basically learned the software during the trial period, simulated the clothing, and then exported the files just one day before the trial period ends, so that I don't need to waste any more time extending it just for one day.
That's like
So
a
it's
quest
those
in itself, man. New mission.
Those constraints kind of force you to learn stuff faster,
14 days.
So every student out there, take notes,
Damn.
like you can learn everything in the trial period.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible.
And I'm not trying to like make it sound like you shouldn't spend money on certain certain assets or tools. Like I spent a lot of money, or not a lot of money, but some money to get some good environment, location assets and stuff like that, so that I can have those things ready. So it's about being mindful of what you're investing in. So now that everything is ready, then I'm spending some money to maybe get After Effects or kind of for the finishing touches. But that early on in the production, if you don't really need to spend the money on something, better to conserve it when you really need it. And that money that you spend will give you much more returns down the line. So again, this is something that I learned from these behind the scene videos of movies, because budgeting is such an important part of such big projects. So even though it's like of a much fractional of a cost, I'm still trying to apply that mindset and being my own producer basically, and thinking about where that money should be spent. So yeah, that was something.
Being my own producer.
Yeah,
that's a dope line right there.
I told you guys are all project managers, man. You don't believe me, but the producer title, it's all stamping over your face. But
one day.
No, but
man.
what I find interesting is the fact that like you were saying that most of it was either free or something that you already had. So that gives the boost for people that want to be creative and feel like they are like stopped by the money factor. It's good to see that you can do a lot more than people think with way less if you just like focus on that goal kind of thing. And yeah, it's super inspiring, man, to hear the story. Even the marvelous design thing being a bit funny. Dude, that's the kind of thing that you gotta do if you want to get it done, right? So
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's something that happens along the way. And again, things can keep changing along the way. Like, of course, story might change, so you might have to redo certain parts. But one thing that I really learned along this process is that as you go deeper into the project, you're able to make decisions faster regarding the project. So maybe week one of the project, you're so scared to change anything. But by the end of the year, it's not a big deal to maybe replace the character altogether or change the shape of a building or anything. Like, it's something that you become more comfortable with, whereas you're too precious with the things at the very early stages of the project.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you have to cut some things out along the way. Like, not everything's going to make it into the final product. So
those decisions I find them quite hard to make.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
you know, get attached
it's like,
to everything.
Yeah, it's like you don't get
to let it go.
You don't want to get rid of that thing that you spent so much time working on, even though it doesn't serve the overall purpose. It's like, it's not adding anything. If you look at it from a big picture perspective, this thing is not fitting. Why not? It's so cool, man. I worked on that for so long. Like, I want to keep it, right? Sometimes you have to make that kind of sacrifice and get rid of it.
Keep for the concept art book that will be released alongside. So,
right.
I got the book called Interlinked the Art, which is from the concept art of Blade Runner 2049, and that's like a really insightful book into the process as well. Like, especially for me that I'm a prop designer, and they have like a bunch of props over there, and you see a lot of them that were thrown out. But yeah, like this whole gold thing, it's impacting me because I'm the kind of guy that would be like attached to the little screw that he designed it to be on, like on a little corner of the spaceship.
Dude,
and, like,
it might inspire to come up. It might inspire to come up with a world for that car that you designed.
Nah, that one it's over, man. I'm sorry to tell you.
Are you sure?
I'm completely sure. I completely lost the interest for it by the end of the project. I had to push myself to finish the piece. Already on other things, don't worry. But yeah, man, it seems like it's bashing your head on the project until you get it done, right? That's how it's looking like.
That's definitely an aspect of it. But I think another thing that helped me is planning for future projects as well, so that there's something else that you're looking forward to the moment this project gets done. So, for example, I've already started writing the script for the second short film and have that idea ready.
Second part,
but of course,
baby.
it's like at a very early stage, so things can change. But having just that seed of an idea, like what Dom was mentioning earlier, just having that strand out there from which you can pull on later on, that kind of gives me something more to look forward to. And that also gives the incentive to wrap up the current project that's going on. So I think balancing between those two things is quite important.
I'm kind of doing that with like my second project right now. Like after Journey to the East was done, I wanted to start this new Blue November project as like a break from Journey to the East, like from that world for a little bit. And then part 2, Journey to the East, next year.
Damn.
Yeah.
Holy shit! This is an announce kind of episode, an announcement type of episode.
Low key.
Well, Sid will have to come back here when you're here.
People dropping trailers over here.
Yeah, man. And here I am, like, just doing nothing of my life, just doing small cars.
We have nothing, dude.
No, bro.
No big project, man.
You can just start anytime. It's that first push.
Just take my hand. Yeah, dude.
I'm actually curious, Dom. Like, how was that process of releasing the book and kind of putting it out there?
Oh, it was hell, man. It was actually like pretty stressful.
It was hella fun.
I just like, because I didn't have any other people like working with me, so it's like a one-man army kind of thing. I had to like put everything together, like put all the backgrounds, do all the writing, the editing myself, and like take it to the print shop and like do all the revisions again with the print shop. So it almost got delayed like 2 weeks when I announced it that was going to be released in May. It was about to be the books were about to come in June actually, but then thankfully I got it all fixed with the print shop and they got here in May, like late May, unfortunately. But after that, it all just went uphill. Like everyone was like, yeah, I want a book. Like everyone was like, take my money and everything. And it's like, okay, I got to see how many people I got and like do all the orders and everything. I didn't want to kickstart it because I didn't want to put people's money into my hands before finishing the product. I wanted to make sure the product was released.
That's a lot of pressure.
And make sure it's good first before sending it out there. Because if I don't have a finished product and I have people's money in my lap, I don't know if I can live up to that expectation, finishing it.
Haven't you thought about finishing the book and then making like a Kickstarter campaign with the finished book?
See, I don't know, because like
now that you said it, I'm just wondering why didn't you think that way as a possibility?
I don't know. I don't want to, like, for me, I don't want to use people's money to fund my stuff. Like, I want to fund it myself. Mm-hmm. So it's like I just want to give it, like, have that chance to release it to people instead of people funding it for me. Just want like a product out there, like, released.
But the book was worth every cent, man. Honestly. Yeah, I got it. Like, if you guys get the chance to get it as well, it's a really awesome, like, what's called like documentation of a story. Like the way that it's laid out and everything is really thoughtful. So you see, he cared the whole way through. He was not like, oh, the pieces are done and now the layout will be rushed. It was not like that at all. Like, it's a really, really cool thing. And
it's not perfect. It's not like the best book ever, but it's just like I did my best. I gave it my best shot, and that's how it should be with like every project. Sometimes it's not going to be like the best thing that people are going to like hate it too, and we were like, oh, this was underwhelming. But you just live and learn from your projects, and like you just move on. You learn with the next project. So yeah,
that's very true.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a certain section of people who will comment on no matter what work you produce, whether it's being appreciated or not being appreciated. there'll always be somebody who doesn't appreciate that effort that's being put in. So there's no point wasting any energy on that. You just kind of keep developing.
Exactly.
Dude, what about your podcast? How did that come up? How did you start that?
Curious too.
I think that was something, again, I wanted to do it for a while, but I was again busy with developing the short film, so I didn't put in any energy or time towards the podcast. Then after, of course, like the COVID situation occurred, I was working from home the entire year basically. So I've been working from home since March, and like I'm the kind of person who will be talking with pretty much anyone I can find in the studio when there is time, of course. But the main point being that I like to keep interacting with different artists and designers, and that was not happening at all because you're basically sitting at home and working.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided I think it would be good to bring the idea of the podcast back and put some energy and time into it. And now, just because of that, I've already recorded 5 episodes, even though only 1 episode is out there. So my plan is to keep releasing
Congrats
one
on the first
week.
episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because of the timing, it's like now the holiday seasons are basically upon us, so everyone's going to be back home or taking a break. So I just wanted to make sure I have a couple of episodes ready, and then I can keep putting it out there. And that allows me to immediately start talking with a lot of people whom I have not spoken to for many years now. Like the episode with Yogi, I was speaking to him after 3.5 years. And it's so good to connect back and see the journey that that person has gone through. And again, like so many people have, I've already lined up a couple of more before the holidays begin. So by the end of the year or by the end of the month, I'll have like about 8 episodes which will be ready. So that allows me some time to keep putting it out there as time goes on and then keep developing my work on the side. So
I like a lot how you
again,
plan
planning
ahead, all these things.
Yeah, the dude's a real planner, man.
Dude is a business guy already.
Secret to success.
That's awesome.
That's only
dude.
when you start making money out of it.
What do you want to release, like one every week? Or
Yeah, that's the plan. 1 every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think
we should.
one main idea was also to keep talking with people, or at least try approaching people outside the concept art industry as well. So like one of the episodes that I've recorded is with an architect who's also like a visual designer and visual artist. And kind of as much as I can, I want to diversify the type of designer or artist that I'm talking to as well, so that I'm learning from other industries of design and culture as well. Because there's no point talking to concept artists of the same kind, because I appreciate a certain thing, they also appreciate the same thing. It's like, yeah, we both agree with it. So
I imagine that was the
we do?
idea behind the branding of the very name of the show, right? Like Convergence, Convergent Podcast. It's a place where
absolutely. Like,
many things come together, different things.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Of course, that credit to the name goes to a friend of mine, Amish. He suggested that name. So I was brainstorming a couple of names with my friends, and that name was thrown out there. And I thought that works well with the idea that I have for the podcast, and it's a nice name.
That's awesome. Really inspiring.
Yeah. That's a good point that you brought up about bringing other different industries into your podcast, because I realize like a lot of the podcasts out there are kind of this sort of the same. Like they bring just artists on. It's not really diversifying.
They all have their own audience, right?
Yeah.
There's people who like to see that kind of stuff all the time, and I don't blame them. Maybe even we like to see certain things all the time, even though they're always the same, right? But in this case, I think we usually like to see something like different perspectives from people who are not from the same industry, right? About certain things. So I think that's a cool idea,
Bring like a historian on or something.
Yeah, honestly, it's I would say it's the same thing we do here as well. Like we try to see what other people think about different subjects. Like just take a look at the recent guests we've been having here. Like they're all from the art industry, but look at their, I would say, career paths. They've been different, and their perception of different approaches to life and art and work and many other things are so different that you can always learn something else from someone else.
It's not just art all the time, but life stuff too. Like,
but it's interesting, like the time that we live in, where we have 4 different time zones in 4 different countries in the same call, and we still have something in common to share, like the mentality and the ideals of sharing stories and creating like experiences, I would say, in the sense of like both of your guys' IPs, Sid's movies in the future.
Movies.
Movies. It's already like in the plural, right? But yeah, it's weird how Convergence is a really good name due to that, like you bring people that think alike. And I think that's something that's very important to be reminded nowadays, like that what's important, it's like your core values and where like you want to take your life, and that will aggregate people that think the same way that you do around you, and that like has that big impact on your life. The networking, I guess, happens like that. And how you were saying that you like to talk with everyone in the studio, right? I'm very much the same. To me, the best part of working at the studio is the people. So like the whole COVID situation had a huge impact on me, but I guess if people learn how to focus on like other people and other experiences, that's a huge plus and can make everyone's lives better.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to give a shout out to Andre, because I spoke with you like I think 2 years back or something for the first time, and then we've kind of stayed in touch partially since then. And then, of course, he introduced me to Adrian and Dom's work maybe sometime a year back or something like that. And that's such a good way, because we don't know each other before that. It's just through Instagram that we get to know each other's work, and then slowly we can keep developing that friendship and work and kind of share the knowledge that we have. Another thing is that I feel like we're still kind of growing our careers, so we don't know where each one of us is going to end up. And that's the really interesting part, where many years down the line, each of us are going to be doing even more interesting stuff. And then that level of collaboration can be even greater.
You're going to be hiring us for your movies, man.
Maybe.
Dude, I came first to this thing, so I'll be the first one in line, okay? Please step by, guys.
All right, he earned it.
I don't want to have to compete with you. So.
Let's give him that. But yeah, it's definitely true. Everything you said, man. It's just be kind, because you never know where your paths might cross again. It's something that I heard long ago. Someone said something like, be kind to the one next to you, because that guy might be your art director tomorrow, in another project, or I don't know, something like that, and you never know. So and he might remember you for being a douche, in the past. So yeah, just
wish I could tell my teacher that.
Shout out to Dom's teacher.
But, no, man. I guess like it ends up that people that actually have opportunities and keep them going and like are never out of work are usually the people that are easy to work with and a pleasure to work with and are always like in a positive mindset. And I mean, there's not much, like you can teach any technical skills to anyone, that's how I feel. Like with time, people learn how to do what they should do. But it's very, very hard to teach someone to be a good person, or to be responsible, or to like be reliable in terms of work and everything. So like the relationships that you find that are like that, I would say like to keep them in touch, even if it's like you send a message every 6 months, like there's not, doesn't need to be like a day-to-day basis contact, but keep them in mind and support each other's work, because at the end of the day, we can all work in like big IPs or companies or things like that. But what will like make people connect with us, it's our own like personalities. It's not like only the names that we put in our resumes,
That's very true. That reminds me of a story actually. When I was in the third term in FZD, one of our art directors, he gave this one tidbit of knowledge basically. So he said that everything that I have in my life is because of the concept art or entertainment industry. It's given me such and such life. So I don't want to waste my time interacting with people who don't respect the field. So I think that respect to your craft and your work is quite important. I think it's very easy to spot somebody who genuinely cares about the stuff that they're doing,
Yeah.
and people who are just doing it for the sake of it. And I think that's a good measure to know whom you should develop friendships and connections with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's many. Yeah, many people are there for something else, you know. And they maybe
I hate my mind, you know.
Irradiate this kind of energy of this sucks, you know, but it's what I have to do. I got to do it. So I'm here, right? It's almost like they're in pain, you know?
Yeah.
With something that you find so much joy in, such as art, right? And they're like, I hate this, you know, this job sucks, you know, which is the case of many teachers out there, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
These guys are so much today, man.
Looks like he has some serious issues with his teachers.
No, I guess we are just like imagining it.
You know, no, but seriously, I could relate to this.
I hate all the teachers too, man.
No,
people that have courses online and everything.
We were actually talking about this the other day. You know, like it's pretty easy to spot a teacher who is passionate about what he's teaching, right?
Yeah.
Whereas some others are kind of like just leaving all the weight on the students. You know, yeah, just open the book on page whatever and do that, right? It's like, I don't know.
Not like building a relationship with the student. It's more just like, yeah, just do the assignment, get it over with. Like, turn your stuff in. You know, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's the human factor, the human connection is extremely undervalued nowadays, at least. But yeah, hopefully that's changing because there's many people who are realizing that that's actually the way, you know. Sometimes even more than the work itself. I don't know how to explain this, really. It's almost like trying to... It's not like you do it because you know in the future you're going to benefit from it. It's just that you feel that way at that time. You know, Andrea, you know what I'm saying, right? It's like, yeah, dude, I just connect with you. It's, I don't know, it's something I can't help, you know.
The first time that I spoke with you, like, you were so open that even scared me a little bit. I was like, damn, man, look like we met each other like 10 years ago, you know, because we connected so much that like it was
hey,
like
nice to meet you, here's where I live, here's my number, here's my
yeah, if you need anything, call me. I'll be up there like in a minute.
I'll be right there next to your place. Yeah, no, but I don't know. See, this is the way I am. I think it comes from a very innocent
to that point, man. Like it's scared in terms of like, hey, this is not something that you see every day, you know.
Yeah.
And it felt genuine, and I feel like sometimes I even end up doing things that are like not particularly beneficial for me, in order to like help people that I care for, you know. And I think that's something that
but
honestly,
you do
I feel
anyway.
proud of. Yeah, like
does it make you
a
feel
decision
good
that's
or
not
bad?
necessarily rational.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
know.
it's the best feeling ever. Like when
Right?
you connect to someone and they like, you feel like they value you, you know. So it's not something like they are taking advantage. And if you get to work with people that you don't need to feel like they are taking advantage of you, or if it's just a like financial exchange, you know, that's not the point at all. Like we had that podcast, I can't remember how long ago, that we talked a little bit about working for free, right?
Yeah.
And if you are working only for the money, yeah, I would say to rethink about it, you know. Like I would say working for the people and connections and value, it's the way to go as well.
Yeah.
Could you guys hear this?
No. I think it's only when you speak.
No, like there's this huge thunder thing going on. I was afraid it would catch on the mic.
Don't worry.
Yeah, it's the power of the podcast, bringing down the world.
This is a powerful podcast, dude. Yeah, but
a lot of fun information being shared.
Oh yeah, I'm really thankful. Thanks for coming in, guys. I don't know. I think I always have a lot of fun just by being here. Just by listening to you, exchanging thoughts and stuff like that. It's always nice to bring someone on to bring like a fresh perspective on the way we do stuff. Like for instance, here, Sid kind of shared some light because this is LightShare. Shared some light with the process, like planning ahead and all that stuff. So
how did you guys come up with this name? Like, what's the story behind LightShare, the name?
It's more like a symbolic kind of,
and then
right?
Yeah.
We made a list.
I left it all to the creative geniuses, and then I just joined.
I think it's just more of like, I don't know, there's a lot of negativity out there, so we're trying to, bring more a positive environment to this podcast where we want to share people's perspectives on things that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Light versus dark. I don't know.
Dude, I think that's seriously something that we should use more in terms of branding, Like what I just did was just a simple joke, but I think it could really be a thing, like bringing some light to the show or something like that. Yeah, it's actually the very idea, the meaning behind the name. It's exactly what Dom said, like sharing some light on let's say the darkness that is, in the world nowadays. So I think that's. Andrea and I found it pretty cool, and we all agreed to keep that name. It's relatively short and easily remember. You can easily remember it, and yeah, I think we just have to work a little bit more on the graphic aspects of the logo and stuff like that, which is something that I haven't really put that much work into. We just needed something to get it started. This was pretty fast, dude. This was something that happened in like a matter of days, if not hours, right?
Wow.
It's like,
that's quick.
Yeah, it's really quick. Andrea and I were talking, we were having like calls on Discord. Hey dude, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Right. And then one day, Dom hops in and says, dudes, we should do like Andrea and I already had this kind of thought of, hey, maybe we should record these calls, and put them on YouTube. Maybe we could have our own show or something. Dom comes in and says, hey dudes, let's do it right now. Right? And we're like, now? You mean now? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, holy shit, all right. So next thing you know, Dom opens up like a new YouTube channel. He creates an account.
So we can guess by this that we don't have 5 episodes in the backlog. So we'll be next up.
Yeah, we're just posting them as we go, And what you said about recording episodes previously to having a bunch of them recorded and then just releasing them. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that gives you like an extra frame of time to organize and think about. Exactly. Yeah. Because you're not going to miss out on a week because you already have the episode. You just have to post it. So in our case,
there is one additional aspect, that because there are 3 of you, right, who are essentially co-hosting the show, even if you don't find a guest for a particular week or some things doesn't line up, you can still talk amongst yourselves and find a topic for the day. But because I'm essentially doing it on my own, I definitely need to have a person on, because otherwise I'll just be talking nonsense on my own, which I don't think anybody wants to listen to. So I think
it's always
that's
better to talk nonsense with people,
Dude, listen, you never know. You never know. Why don't you try it someday? Just find something to talk about on your own, just to try.
Maybe.
I don't know. Why not?
Maybe.
It doesn't sound so crazy to me. And
that's because you do it already.
if you think that doesn't please you or something, just feel free to bring any of us on, and I'll be happy.
Oh,
man,
definitely.
You know.
No, I want to have an episode with each of you separately. In fact, like that's my plan.
We come as a pack, man. We cannot split the pack. I'm sorry.
It's what he said. Like, we work in a very different way when we're alone. We're not ourselves anymore. No, I'm just kidding, man. Of course, yeah. Anytime.
It will be a pleasure.
The reason being because I think it gives me the time to deconstruct each individual's thought process at a deeper level. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know how successful it's being, but that's the idea.
Yeah, but still, I mean, what I was trying to say is that that's a nice strategy, you know, that I've heard many other content creators that they usually record those episodes, not necessarily podcasts, even just some YouTube videos of any kind, you know, because they have like a schedule, and to not miss out on that, they just have like several episodes, and if anything happens, they can't record or post anything. They just have it already posted. Maybe it's like in what do they call that? Like it's hidden, private or hidden or whatever. Yeah, and they just make it public, and that's it. So I think that's a really good strategy.
I did that for Instagram, like the first couple of years. You know, I would pick up like one day of the week and do sketches like for. Yeah, man, can you believe it?
On
and
Instagram?
like I would do like. No, dude, it's not like scheduling it. It's just like getting all the drawings ready.
You
and
have
then
the drawing.
posting
Okay.
it, like,
Yeah.
And then like I took the same day I would do all the drawings, took pictures of them, save on the phone, and like just set an alarm for the time of day that I would post. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a service out there that
like,
I think you can use to do exactly what I said.
Yeah.
That's why I was so surprised that you can do that on Instagram.
I'm going Sid ways, you know, and not paying for anything.
I see.
You have to.
See, Sid, that's how Andrea sees you now.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. That's fine.
No, I know.
But yeah, I don't know. Any closing thoughts? This has been running for an hour and a half now, and holy moly, we've been talking about a lot of stuff.
Anything you'd like to offer to viewers, like any last inspirational thoughts or anything?
Well, I don't know about inspirational, but I think, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. I think I had a really good time talking with all of you. And
it's our pleasure.
Yeah, it's a big honor because this is the first time somebody actually invited me on a podcast. So that's a huge deal for me. So there's something that
It's the first of many, dude.
Exactly. This is just the beginning, dude.
Yes. In terms of like for people out there, I think taking risks is quite important. Doing the kind of work that you want to do, that's quite important. And waiting for that result to show consistently is something that I'm trying to do, as well as I feel people need to do more rather than waiting for the immediate results. And I think that's the most important thing.
So where can people find you on the internet?
So they just need to search for my name, SIDDHARTHA VALLURI, on Instagram, ArtStation. Yeah, that's the primary places where I'm putting my work out there for now.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it.
Then, well...
Yeah, I'm good. Before you got famous.
you cut out a little bit,
not
at least on my
yet.
end.
I mean, you guys are far more famous, actually. You
Dude.
have, like, a huge
These two
following on
guys
social
are.
media. I mean, a few of you are doing really well on social media side of things, so that's quite good to see.
Dom is the one leading right now.
It's not without the help of everybody. Like, I couldn't have done it like myself. Like, it's all like the followers who share my work and everything. So give big thanks to everybody. It's never like a one-man thing. Yeah.
I appreciate. I'll take this moment to appreciate like to all my followers and subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for making this possible. Thanks for joining us on our crazy journeys. And yeah, thank you a lot for coming here. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Dom. Andre. Thanks again. And yeah, man, I don't know. I think this is a wrap up already, right? This has been episode 10. Hope I'm not messing this up. Yeah. And
10 episodes already. Awesome.
Yeah,
guys.
dude, time flies, man. But yeah, we hope we can make more. And until the next one, just remember to stay creative, take care of yourselves, enjoy your time, and have a good one. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.